Under a silver-washed sky, the forest breathed in quiet wonder. A little fox, lost among the towering trees, gazed up at the moon that hung like a lantern guiding travelers home. His fur shimmered softly in the starlight as he whispered, "I must find the path before the clock strikes midnight." Crickets sang in rhythm. Fireflies painted golden arcs through the cool night air, and the whisper of leaves told secrets of the forest long forgotten. The little fox's eyes gleamed with both fear and courage, for though the forest was vast, his heart glowed brighter than any lantern. Somewhere beyond the hills, his home awaited, and the moon promised to lead him there. The forest whispered his name through the rustling leaves. Every sound seemed alive, the hoot of an owl, the sigh of a willow, the hum of a hidden brook. The little fox padded softly, guided by the voices that murmured, "Follow the light, young traveler." His heart thumped like a drum in the stillness, each beat echoing hope. Yet shadows twisted around him, shaping faces in the fog. He took a deep breath, remembering his mother's words, "Courage is the light that never fades." Just as fear began to settle, a gentle glow approached a tiny lantern bug fluttering in the darkness. It hovered near the fox's nose, flickering with warmth. "Are you lost too?" asked the fox softly. The lantern bug circled him playfully, lighting the path ahead. The fox followed, his steps lighter now, the forest less lonely. Together they moved like stars in motion, two lights seeking home. The pair reached a river that shimmered like melted silver. Ripples carried starlight across its surface. The fox saw his reflection small, brave, and determined. "If I follow the current," he thought, "it might lead me home." The lantern bug dipped low, tracing circles above the water, as if agreeing. The night breeze whispered approval through the reeds. A melody drifted through the air, soft, ancient, carried by the wind itself. The fox paused, eyes half closed, listening. The tune wrapped around his heart like a memory. Trees swayed in rhythm, leaves trembling with harmony. The forest wasn't frightening anymore. It was alive, singing to him, and somewhere within that song, he heard the promise of dawn. The fox and the lantern bug followed the river's song until the trees opened to a hidden glade. There, spanning the silver water, stood an ancient wooden bridge, blanketed in moss. The moon cast stripes of light across its planks, and the air shimmered with mist. Each creak beneath the fox's paw seemed to whisper an echo of travelers long gone. "Do not fear," said the lantern bug's glow, flickering brighter as it floated beside him. Halfway across, the fox looked down. Stars seemed to float beneath the water's surface, as if the sky had fallen into the river. The world was upside down, and yet, somehow, it felt right. As the fox reached the other side, the river's hum deepened into a voice. It rippled through the current, gentle and wise. "Little wanderer," it spoke, "why do you cross without knowing where the water flows?" The fox peered into the depths, startled. The river shimmered, shaping the faint outline of a great fish made of light. "I'm trying to find my way home," he whispered. "Then listen to the flow," said the river spirit, "for even lost souls have a current to follow." The water swirled, and in it, the fox saw glimpses of his journey ahead. The river's reflection rippled, showing the fox's image multiplied, one brave, one uncertain, one weary. Each reflection spoke softly, echoing his thoughts. "You can't make it," murmured one. "You can," whispered another. The little fox trembled, torn between doubt and determination. Then the lantern bug's glow brightened, casting light over the dark reflections until they vanished. The fox breathed deeply. His courage returned, rippling outward like waves. "I will follow the current," he said at last. And the river glowed in answer. The river spirit rose in a spiral of light, encircling the fox. Droplets hovered midair like stars. "For your courage," it said. "Take this, a fragment of the moon's glow." From the current, a small pearl of light drifted into the fox's paw. It pulsed softly, warm, and alive. The lantern bug hummed with joy, and the river's voice faded into the night wind. The fox tucked a light beneath his fur, feeling its warmth steady his heart. Now, he would never lose his way in the dark again. With the pearl's light to guide him, the fox stepped into a new part of the forest. The air grew warmer, filled with the scent of pine and rain. The lantern bug flitted ahead, tracing a golden line between shadows. Behind them, the river sang a farewell lullaby, its song fading into distance. The fox didn't look back. He carried the river's wisdom within him now. Ahead, faint lights danced, maybe fireflies, or maybe something even more magical. The journey had only just begun. The fox's paws touched soft moss as he entered a grove unlike any he had seen. The air shimmered with colors that shifted like dreams, lavender, gold, and pale blue drifting through branches that seemed to hum with quiet music. Flowers glowed faintly under the moon, their petals swaying even without wind. The lantern bug dimmed its light, humbled by the grove's gentle radiance. It feels like a dream, whispered the fox. Somewhere among the trees, the faint sound of laughter rippled, not of danger, but of welcome. The grove of dreams had awakened to greet its little visitor. In the heart of the grove, great blossoms opened one by one, their petals reflecting memories like glass mirrors. The fox saw flashes of his past, his den, his mother's watchful eyes, the first snowfall he ever touched. But when he stepped closer, the petals shimmered and changed, showing paths yet unseen, mountains of crystal, skies painted with starlight. He realized that this grove was alive with dreams not only of those who came before, but of those still becoming. For the first time, he felt the pull of possibility, and hope grew stronger than fear. From beneath a curtain of blossoms emerged the keeper of slumber, an ancient owl whose feathers shimmered like moonlight on glass. Its eyes were kind but deep, swirling with distant dreams. "Why do you wander here, little one?" it asked in a voice like soft thunder. "To find my way home," the fox replied. The owl blinked slowly, the sound like the closing of a book. "Then you must first see what your heart truly seeks. The way home is not always the way back." The words lingered, settling like mist around the fox's thoughts. The keeper led the fox to a pool in the grove's center. Its surface was perfectly still, reflecting not his face, but his feelings: fear, longing, and courage intertwined like ripples. "Look closer," said the owl. The fox leaned forward and saw a path made of light stretching into the reflection, leading toward a distant den bathed in dawn's glow. "That is where your heart calls you," the keeper whispered. "Follow it, and the forest will show the way." As the fox lifted his gaze, the reflection faded, leaving only the stars above, a promise written across the sky. The grove grew quiet as the fox turned to leave. The keeper's wings unfurled, stirring a breeze that carried the scent of home. "Go," murmured the owl, "and remember light dwells where courage rests." The fox bowed his head in gratitude, and the lantern bug's glow brightened again, rekindled by hope. Together they stepped out of the grove of dreams, where moonlight and dawnlight met in a soft embrace. Behind them, petals fell in silence, as though the grove itself whispered farewell and blessings for the journey yet ahead. The forest thinned into slopes where the air grew crisp and cool. The fox climbed higher, his paws pressing into soft soil that soon turned to stone. The moon hung low, brushing silver light along the cliffs. Winds whispered between pine needles, carrying faint voices, not words, but echoes of dreams fading into sky. The lantern bug's glow flickered nervously. "We're almost above the clouds," the fox said softly, watching the mist swirl below. The stars felt closer here, like lanterns guiding him forward, but each step grew steeper, and the wind began to speak with purpose, testing his resolve. At the mountain's shoulder, the wind began to sing. It howled through crags and caverns, weaving melodies of distant lands. The fox paused, ears perked, and listened. The song carried memories of rivers, groves, and home, a harmony of all he had seen. The lantern bug danced with the rhythm, its light pulsing like a heartbeat. Maybe it remembers me, too. For a moment, the world seemed to pause, sky, stone, and soul becoming one endless note of belonging. The wind suddenly changed fierce, restless, filled with whispering voices. Shapes began to form. Translucent, fox-like spirits swirling from the mist, their eyes glowing like pale embers. "Who are you?" the little fox asked, tail flicking nervously. The spirits circled him, their voices blending. "We are what you could become if you lose your way." Fear surged. But then he remembered the pearl of light the river spirit had given him. He held it high, and its glow pierced the storm. The winds softened, bowing before his courage, and in silence cleared the path ahead. By dawn's first touch, the fox reached the mountain's crown. The world stretched endlessly below, forests glowing faintly in the twilight, rivers shining like ribbons of glass. The lantern bug settled on his shoulder, its light mingling with the rising sun. The fox closed his eyes and listened. The wind that once roared now whispered softly. "Bravery opens all paths." He stood there in stillness, feeling peace bloom within. Somewhere far beneath, his home awaited, but for the first time he understood that every step of the climb had already led him closer to it. As sunlight crowned the mountain, the fox began his descent. The path wound gently through wild flowers and dew-slicked stones. The world below glowed with warmth, and the lantern bug hummed softly beside him. Every scent, pine, earth, wind, seemed richer now. Every color deeper. The night had tested his spirit, and dawn had rewarded his heart. The mountain faded behind him, but its lesson remained. Strength is not the absence of fear, but the courage to face it. The forest awaited his return, brighter than ever before. The fox descended from the mountain into a valley blanketed in silver fog. The air was still, heavy with the scent of rain and time itself. Strange stone arches jutted from the earth, carved with runes too old to read. The lantern bug's glow flickered nervously as if afraid to disturb the silence. The fox stepped cautiously, each paw print fading moments after it touched the ground. The valley seemed to breathe ancient, waiting. Somewhere within its mist, whispers stirred, not with threat, but with longing. The fox realized this place was not empty. It was remembering. At the valley's heart stood a giant clock made of moss and stone, its hands unmoving. Vines hung like frozen rivers down its face, and faint gears shimmered beneath layers of lichen. The fox tilted his head, puzzled. Why has time stopped? He wondered aloud. The lantern bug circled the clock, tracing its numbers with gentle light. Suddenly, the hour hand twitched, releasing a low hum that rippled through the air. The valley trembled softly, not in fear, but in awakening. Somewhere above, the sun broke through the fog for the first time, illuminating the moment like a secret reveal. From the gears of the clock emerged an ancient turtle, its shell covered in spirals that glowed faintly like constellations. "Little traveler," it said in a voice slow as centuries, "why do you wander in a place where time itself sleeps?" The fox bowed politely. "I'm trying to find my way home." The turtle smiled with wisdom that felt endless. "Home is not always behind you. Sometimes it waits ahead in the moment you have yet to live." The turtle touched the pearl of light with a gentle claw, and time itself rippled forward once more, releasing the valley from its stillness. The clock began to move again, its gears whirring softly. Time spilled like golden dust into the valley, painting the fog with light. Flowers bloomed where none had been, and the air grew alive with sound, rushing streams, chirping birds, the laughter of renewal. The fox felt the weight of stillness lift from his fur. He looked at the turtle with wonder. "Did I fix time?" The turtle chuckled deeply. "No, little one. You reminded it to keep going." The valley sighed with relief. Alive again, after a long, forgotten sleep. When the last chime echoed through the valley, a new trail appeared, a winding path of light leading into a forest touched by morning gold. The turtle lowered its head. The forest remembers you now. Go, before the moon wakes again. The fox nodded, heart filled with gratitude. As he stepped forward, the lantern bug glowed brighter than ever, humming a melody that matched the turning of time. The valley watched in silence as the little fox disappeared into the light, his journey renewed one step closer to home. The fox followed the golden path until sunlight began to fade once more. Before him stretched a meadow, half in light, half in shadow, a place where day and night seemed to meet and hold their breath. The air shimmered like glass, filled with drifting seeds that glowed faintly as they floated. The lantern bug dimmed its light, uncertain. The fox hesitated. The meadow's beauty was haunting every blade of grass, whispered softly, as though remembering forgotten dreams. "We're close," he whispered, sensing something beyond the veil, a truth waiting to be seen. As the fox stepped into the meadow's darker half, the ground cooled beneath his paws. Shadows gathered, swirling into shapes, faint reflections of his fears. One whispered of loneliness, another of failure, another of never finding home. He trembled, heart racing. The lantern bug's light wavered, its glow dimming to a flicker. "Don't listen," the fox told himself. But the whispers grew louder. Then he remembered the river spirit's pearl glowing softly in his fur. He closed his eyes, breathed deeply, and held it close. The shadows stilled, waiting, afraid of the courage they could not swallow. "Little one," came a voice not from the air, but from within his heart. It was warm, familiar, like the comfort of a den on a rainy night. "You've carried light through darkness, courage through doubt. Why fear shadows now?" The fox opened his eyes and realized the voice was his own, the part of him that had always believed. The lantern bug brightened again, circling him with renewed energy. The shadows faded, replaced by gentle starlight spilling across the grass. The meadow sighed, releasing its fear into the wind. The fox stood tall, glowing softly with calm. The starlight deepened, forming a faint image in the air. A den beneath a great oak, a mother's gentle eyes, the warmth of belonging. The fox's breath caught. It was his home, shining just beyond reach, like a reflection on water. "You remember me," he whispered, eyes glistening. But when he took a step forward, the image rippled and vanished. The lantern bug landed on his nose, glowing tenderly. "It's not gone," said the fox softly. "It's waiting." He smiled, realizing that finding his way home was not about distance. It was about remembering who he was all along. The meadow glowed brighter, as if the stars themselves bowed to the little fox heart. The shadows transformed into soft lights that rose into the sky, joining the constellations above. A calm wind brushed through his fur, carrying whispers of gratitude not from others, but from the forest itself. The lantern bug hummed in quiet joy. The fox looked to the horizon, where the first hint of dawn painted the clouds in rose and gold. He felt lighter now, stronger, ready. The forest had tested him, taught him, and now, at last, it was guiding him home. The last path wound through a forest bathed in moonlight and the faint blush of dawn. The trees stood tall and familiar now, their roots woven like the pages of an old story nearing its end. The fox walked steadily, his pearl of light glowing softly in his fur, the lantern bug hovering close beside him. The air smelled of pine and home. Above, the moon hung low, a perfect silver clock, counting the final moments before midnight. The fox's heart quickened. He was close. Every sound, every whisper of wind carried the same promise. You are almost there. As the fox reached the clearing, the forest stirred. From every direction came the friends he had met, the river spirit rippling through the grass, the keeper of slumber gliding above the trees, even the great turtle watching from afar. They gathered silently, their forms glowing faintly in the half-light. "You have walked through fear and found your light," said the owl softly. "Now follow it home." The fox bowed, eyes shining. "Thank you," he whispered, "for showing me the way." One by one, they faded into the dawn, leaving only warmth behind. The fox reached the final rise just as the moon touched the horizon. A distant chime rang 12 soft tones, drifting through the trees. Midnight. The pearl in his fur pulsed once, then gently dissolved into his chest, merging with his heartbeat. He realized the light had never been meant to guide him. It had always been a part of him. The lantern bug hummed low. "Content. Home," the fox whispered. "Isn't where I end, it's where I begin again." The wind sighed, carrying his words into eternity, and the stars seemed to bow in quiet celebration. The hill sloped gently into a familiar glade, and there beneath a great oak was his den. Warm golden light spilled from its entrance, and the faint scent of earth and comfort filled the air. The fox paused, eyes glistening before stepping inside. The lantern bug rested on a branch above, its glow steady and calm. Inside, the den was quiet, filled with the hush of dreams, waiting to be dreamt. He curled into his nest of moss, tail wrapping around him, and for the first time since his journey began, he closed his eyes in peace. Outside, the first light of morning kissed the forest awake. The lantern bug watched the den, its glow fading as the sun rose, its task complete. Inside, the little fox dreamed. He dreamed of rivers and groves, of songs and the wind and stars that remembered his name. The forest whispered in rhythm with his breath, promising new adventures when the time was right. For now, all was calm. The clock of the world ticked softly in harmony once more, and as sunlight touched the leaves above, the enchanted forest sighed at peace with the dawn.